Today we are upgrading a MacBook Pro 13-inch from 4 gigabytes of memory that it came with to 8 gigabytes to help with heavy intensive applications like video, After Effects, Final Cut Pro, Photoshop, Illustrator, things that require a lot of memory. This will also help when you're doing live streaming with things like Chrome or Firefox. The more memory you have available for that, I think the smoother the process is going to be. Of course, it's all dependent upon your computer and what kind of software you're running. But I know for my MacBook experience that the more memory I have, the less spinning wheel of death I get on it, and the more stable the applications seem to be. So let's go ahead and start this process. We're going to be upgrading to G-Skill DDR3, which comes in this fancy looking box. I got it on Newegg. I'll post a link on the site. This had the best ratings. I always go by the user ratings because those are the people are out in the field that are actually using the stuff. Here we go. Here's a MacBook Pro 13. I got this 2010. It's a little bit scuffed up because I don't usually put a case on it. I like the sleek design of it. First thing we're going to do is I've shut it down. I've backed up all my information. You know, for memory that may not be too crucial, but I'm also a little hesitant to play around the innards of the computer without having all my information backed up. We're going to flip it over and you're going to see a bunch of screws around the edge here. These are the guys we're going to want to take out. You're going to want to use a small screwdriver and one that's almost an exact fit for these small screws, because if you use a larger screw head, a Phillips screw head, you can actually strip these screws quite easily, and since they're recessed, they're very difficult to get out. So take your time with this, don't rush it. You've paid a lot for this computer, don't want to screw this up, and if something's not going right, put the thing back together, have somebody else do it, or don't mess with it. Okay, so to do this, we're going to take these screws out along the edge. What I'm going to do is actually use my iPhone here to get a close-up for you. So we're just going to go around the edge and take these out. And if you're not comfortable with this, don't do it. But if you think you can pull it off, you know, just take your time and lay these out in the same order you are taking them out, so that you know which ones go where. Also, I recommend you do this on a towel. As you see, I have a paper towel here. I've got a paper towel system going on. Something that's rough and ridged and also soft, so as you put the screws on them, they don't fall off onto the floor. Because if these things fall onto the carpet, good luck, you're screwed. And here we go. Here's the innards of the MacBook Pro. Of the 13-inch Unibody. It's kind of dirty. Should probably blow this off with some air, but I'm not going to because I'll lose my screws if I do that. And I would hate to have to chase around the screws on video. Alright, so here is our hard drive. As you can see, I've upgraded that. That's for another tutorial sometime. Our main board, our battery, and our optical drive, or DVD/DVR, blah blah blah, and then the CPU fan. Our memory banks are right here. What we're going to do is take the memory out, slowly and carefully put it back in the package that we're taking the new memory out of. These things are static sensitive. You want to touch something metal before you get into this process. You don't want to have a static charge on you and actually shock the memory. I'm going to come in and just take these tabs and push them to the side, and this thing's going to lift up, and we're going to take our first memory card out, trying to avoid touching any of the metal pieces on the memory itself. Boy, this one's a little sticky. Now you'll see it has a slot that's about 40% in from the left or from the right side, and about 60% in from the right side. That's to keep the memory from going in backwards. You'll want to keep that in mind as you put the new memory in. Do not force the new memory. If it doesn't go in, then you need to just reanalyze what you're doing and reevaluate it. It should just slide right in. It'll be a little stiff, but it shouldn't be too hard. Okay, then there's a second set of little knobs down here you're going to want to push off to the right, I think. And that should come right up. Actually, it might be easier if I flip the computer around, so I'm working with the direction of it versus against it. And move those things to the side. They seem to pop up a little bit more. Pull pull memory out. So here's my 8 gigabytes. I'm going to open this puppy up. Try not to fling it across the room as I do that. It's kind of important. And flip it over to where we match that 40-60 gap. Put it in. The bottom one is always a little tricky. Just want to you can see I'm shaking it, so this always makes me nervous. And just seat it in there really nice. Now this one seems to sit pretty nice. I'm not convinced it's actually in there all the way, but we'll see. And have this one, flip it over. And then what I like to do is check and make sure that the memory I've taken out of the machine is the memory that I've taken out of the machine, because I've accidentally swapped them before and put the old memory right back in. I mean, these things look identical, right? So it's kind of hard to tell. So this is in fact the 2 gigabyte module, and the other one in my hand is in fact the Samsung 2 gigabyte module. So we're in good shape. Put those down. Alright, so now it looks like we're seated. Everybody's happy. They're all getting along in there. We're going to close this up, and then what we're going to do is we're going to, what I'm going to do, and you can do it differently, but I'm going to put 2 screws in. I'm going to flip it over and start it up to make sure it actually sees the memory. And then if it does, I will button everything else up and get to work on it with the software. But if you put all these screws back in and button everything else up and then figure out that it doesn't see the memory, it's kind of a bummer. I have to go back and do the whole process again. So just enough to snug it down. Guess I could use a new screwdriver, I know. And that's it. It's a very fast process if it works. So I'm going to flip it over here, turn it on. So far so good. Should get a little spinning thingamabobby right there. That looks good. And I do have a lot of stuff on here. There's a 640 gigabyte hard drive in here with a ton of applications, so it does take some time to load up. However, the faster your internal drive is and the less applications you have on it, especially a boot sequence, the less time it will take to load up. I already noticed that the spinning wheel that comes up when the processor is loading the startup stuff doesn't stay as long. So this could be a good sign. This could be a sign that we're seeing our full 8 gigabytes. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're going to swing up here to the Apple. Alright, it says we see the full 8 gigabytes of memory. So there we go. I'm going to click on more info here. And it's going to take a second to load up because it still looks like it's loading Dropbox and a bunch of other things. We're going to cruise down to memory over here in the corner as we did before, and we see our 2 banks are full, both with 4 gigabytes, DDR3, 1067, everything status says OK. Looks like we're in good shape. Alright, I'm happy. I'm going to button it up, and that will be that. Remember, as you button this thing up, put the rest of the screws in it, to put the screws in the right place. Do not force anything. They're easy to cross through. So, thank you very much. I'll be adding more tutorials on how to quickly and inexpensively upgrade your studio and hardware components to get the most performance you can out of what you have. This is a very inexpensive way to add a lot of speed to your post-production process and also get the glitches out of possibly your live broadcast if you're seeing that. Thank you very much.